right, y'all. We right back to Cold Harbor. I know a lot of people probably, y'all gave up on old Kool-Aid, man. Y'all was thinking, man, he ain't gonna post no more. This my y'all voice. He ain't gonna post no more City Skylines 1 video, man. He on the City Skylines 2. Shut up. I got this under control. I told you, don't never lose hope. So I got this spot right here. If you've ever watched the cinematics, you might have noticed some windmills like up on a hill. I had to move them windmills to make this little cut that I'm making right here. So you can see me using the terrain tools to kind of cut out this little crevasse area right here. It's kind of a ridge. We're gonna kind of manipulate it, soften everything up, and we're gonna make sure we got a level spot right in the middle. Basically in this episode, it's definitely a little bit different format, but we're building a national park, kind of like a national park / memorial to the first peoples of Cold Harbor. Of course, we got some actual lore coming later on in the episode, so you'll be able to check that out. It is a bit extensive, I ain't gonna hold you, but I felt like, I didn't want to sprinkle it out over a bunch of episodes. I just wanted to like go in and kind of lay the historical foundations, and I also didn't want to like tack this on to another episode. Like I didn't want this part to be an afterthought. So again, this is like a special edition episode. Y'all can see me working with the nature paths. I'm deleting some trees out my way so I can kind of see, and you can see I just made me like a little swoopy loopy type area down there on the bottom, and right now I'm working with the elevated paths, and I'm kind of making more of like a observation type deck. This probably wasn't a part of the original camp area, this little stronghold area. They probably built that later on to accommodate actual visitors. So we're gonna smooth down the land as much as we can. I do still want it to have a few rises and falls, a few different elevation changes, just to kind of create more of a dynamic camp setting, give me an opportunity to put some stuff on different tiers. Y'all know how I like to get down with that. So right here on the outside, we need to work on the little visitors center. Like it's got to have some type of little reception area, so you can see me working with the parking lot roads. I'm connecting up our little rusty path that we had, and I'm using the UK holiday pack stuff as my visitor center. Now I know I probably could have used some of the Mountain Village stuff that just came out. Shout out to those people that came out with that pack, but I felt like let's save that. I want to build an actual Mountain Village, and I didn't want to really like use those assets on this build at all, so we just gonna use our UK holiday pack for our reception area, and that's really like the only building other than that. And you can see I put the little parking booth right there. Then I'm gonna line the whole parking lot with these ancient rusty caveman type wooden fences I found on the workshop. On the opposite side of the parking lot, I felt like this might be a dope place to have like camper parking, RV parking. Families is pulling up in them bagos. Y'all know what I'm talking about, man. They gotta have somewhere to park those, and I know the parking lot is actually super small. People can't even really back up. It's all good. We'll worry about that later on. And I felt like this was the perfect time. I've never got to use this little underpass cavey looking piece before, so I couldn't resist. I'm also gonna line the ridge and just certain spots up with some of these giant rocks. I definitely wanted this whole camp area to feel like it's really dug into the side of this mountain, but by nature though. Like man couldn't have did this. They just happened to find a cool spot. So we're gonna hit the outside of the reception center with a couple of vending machines, just stuff to make it feel a little bit more family oriented. You can go in there and get some pamphlets. Maybe you can do some white water rafting, bow hunting, or check out a train museum or something. Y'all know how them pamphlets be. In North Carolina, you go in these like little tourist spots, they have a whole wall of just pamphlets. Hey, while you're here, come see our thing too. You can mine for gold. You can make bread with a lady that's dressed up like she's in the 1800s. That's what I'm talking about. So we need that type of vibe. I'm also going to spend a little bit of time right here just outside the reception center. I wanted to use this Unity type statue. I think I've used this before, but I just felt like the perfect place, especially with it looking unfinished the way it's unfinished. Up in the actual camp area, I wanted to do away with a lot of the lights. I felt like it was way too many lights, and then I started thinking I don't even really want those types of lights at all. We're gonna throw like some torches and stuff back there to make it feel a little bit more like it's from a different era, a time long ago, but people definitely spent some money, some resources making this a living history preserve. So make sure y'all bring the whole family, bring the kids, bring your cousin that's on dope that you can't leave in your house because he be stealing. Bring them all, man. They can come on and check out this our live historical park museum area that we're building right here in this cut I'm still sprinkling around a few more of these rocks because, again, by the time I got to this point of the build, I pretty much knew the story. I was writing it as I was going along, so I definitely had to take a few times where I had to go back to the workshop and find one more thing or one more. Man, dude, I got some baskets on here. You got this, that, and the I was on there looking up the most stuff, but I think I finally pulled it together towards the end. We're gonna sprinkle around some of it. I got some new bushes, like they straight sticks, but it's bushes. I love them. They add so much more of like a rugged feel to the area. Not gonna spend the most time in the world showing y'all me putting bushes around. Y'all done seen that before, but I definitely wanted to get some of that stuff done before I lean into the fat meat of this episode. See, we got the national park sign. Look at them stick bushes, y'all. They look so cool. I love them bushes, man. Those is my new joints right there. We got the national park sign, and we need to hit it with a little information hiking sign. All that's looking good. Let's get into the actual story. If you don't care about the lore, I ain't even mad at you, but you might want to skip right here or go to the bathroom, walk your dog, something. Here you go.
What began with false allegations at the farthest edge of colonial America,
all the things that America was supposed to be fighting against, this is what's happening to him,
would lead to the birth of one of the most powerful and fiercely contested places to remain on modern maps.
They were targets of a scorched earth campaign. There was no law of war that was really respected.
Pushed to the limits of survival, a little-known leader of a rogue native tribe rises to become a symbol of resistance.
Look up to this person who is asking them to risk their lives to go into combat. Is what is motivating that person, and do they have my best interest at heart?
This is Blood and Snow, the legend of Cold Harbor, brought to you by the Shakira Payton Foundation and Penguin City Beer. The ship rocked violently in the storm, waves crashing over the side as the deck groaned under the strain. Below deck, the children's cries mixed with the howling wind. Mary Whitmore clutched her shawl tightly, her thoughts spinning back to the moment they were forced to flee. This was all the doing of Thomas Gage, the crooked governor left in charge, who held no qualms about bending the truth to serve his own ambitions.
Even his close friend William the Marshal, one of his leading barons who actually remained loyal, described him as a felon. He's licentious, he's lecherous, he's cruel. He's a thoroughly unpleasant, nasty piece of work.
You could lose your rights, completely lose your rights as a citizen. It's a concept that we don't really have in the modern world because we have such a strong international law, but they didn't. And of course, if you lost your rights as a citizen, you kind of had nothing. You had no identity.
Accused of treason, her husband's life had been forfeited to Gage's lies. Craving their land, Gage had found his perfect excuse in a fabricated story of espionage. The mob had stormed their estate, but by the time they arrived, Mary and her family were already gone. They had hidden on a freezing dock, crouched among the crates and cargo as armed men and dogs scoured the area, searching for any sign of them. Up on deck, Eli and Nia worked quickly with the ropes, securing them as best they could. They had both been with Mary's family since childhood. Her husband, realizing they wouldn't all make it, had made the ultimate sacrifice. He ran in the opposite direction, drawing the men away from his family. The men gave chase, and with a final, desperate look back, he was lost to them. Nia saw the group and waved urgently, signaling that the way was clear. Mary, her children, her sister Anne, and her teenage nephew all dashed toward the ship. But as Mary turned back, her heart sank. She saw him fall, shot down by the mob.
So they were identified, they were accused, but what have they done? Like Robin Hood, they've become fugitives, they've fled.
They lost all their goods and chattels, and if they were captured in future, they could be executed.
Grabbing the children, Mary dragged them below deck, the storm's fury shaking the ship as they sailed into the unknown. The ship creaked loudly, and with a violent shudder, the hull split open. The ship tilted at an alarming angle, throwing Mary and the others to the floor as waves slammed over the deck. The force of the wave crashing over her as she was knocked unconscious, swallowed by the raging sea. What remained of the ship washed up on the shore of what appeared to be an uninhabited island. The survivors, disoriented, weak, and desperate, slowly began to regain consciousness amidst the wreckage. The group was scattered but alive. They staggered away from the wreckage, heading toward the dense woods that surrounded them.
This landscape is penetrated by a series of deep ravines, streams flowing to the north.
This magical mystery place, this place way beyond the edge of nowhere, it was really going to be far more difficult and dangerous than many of them could ever realize.
The snow had begun to fall again, its powdery weight pressing down on their exhausted bodies. Every step was a challenge as they pushed forward, uncertain of what lay ahead. It wasn't long before they were surrounded. Maliseet warriors, draped in wolf pelts and snow fur cloaks, emerged from the shadows of the trees, silently encircling the group. The Maliseet were part of the Wabanaki Confederacy, a powerful alliance of tribes in the region, but these warriors appeared to be an offshoot, living on the fringes of the main group.
One of the dangers of the notion of the frontier is the idea that everything was very static on the indigenous side, and the U.S. side is sort of where all the dynamism is. But it's really important to understand is that everything is moving really, really quickly, and there's a lot of change that's going on the indigenous side as well.
One of the tribes stepped forward. His name was Pesquak Pesqua. Translated, it means fights in snow, a fierce young warrior with years of experience. His hands rested on the hilt of his weapon as he inspected the group, looking for signs of danger or deception. Then he turned to another warrior beside him. This one was taller than the rest, with broad shoulders and a beard. He had stark white face paint with blood-red streaks, and he carried what seemed to be a large, almost Nordic-style axe. The two whispered to each other, their voices low and quick. The taller warrior listened closely, then faced the group. In a deep, steady voice, he spoke in English and commanded them to walk. The survivors were led through the camp, nestled in a mountain crevasse. Snow blanketed the ground, and tall pines towered above, their branches heavy with snow. The homes, a mix of wood and thatch with steep, slanted roofs, resembled ancient Scandinavian architecture, smoke rising from chimneys into the cold air. Children in fur pelts ran and played with wolf cubs, while adults moved between structures, preparing for the coming storm. The group was brought to a large fire at the center of the camp, the flames casting a warm glow against the harsh, icy backdrop. There, in the center of a small group of warriors, sat a woman. Her name translated was Iron Wolf, the chieftain of the tribe.
Entire communities would rise up and they would all go on to the battle site. This means that if it goes wrong, you're not just facing the loss of a battle, you're facing the loss of potentially your entire people.
Her body covered in tribal tattoos and defined by powerful muscles, she whispered to the tall, lighter-skinned warrior as the group looked on. Iron Wolf made it clear she did not trust the strangers and even spoke of killing the adults. However, Last Moon, the elder and shaman of the tribe, spoke with calm wisdom. He persuaded his daughter to spare the strangers, but she ordered that they be locked up. They would not be alone. 2 French-Canadian scouts, who had been there for weeks after being caught by the tribe during their wanderings, were already prisoners. The pens were crude and dirty, separated from the tribe by rough wooden bars and always guarded. Weeks passed, and while the adults remained imprisoned, the children were allowed freedom. They ran and played with the young ones of the tribe, laughing and frolicking around the camp. River Ghost, who had introduced himself to them, spent time with the children as well. He explained to them that he was born in Newfoundland, where his ancestors, Viking sailors, had settled more than 700 years ago.
He's noble, more innately noble than really noble. He's honest, he's hardworking, he's loyal, he has the ability to inspire loyalty in others, but he accepts true authority.
Stranded far from home, he encountered a Maliseet child in danger. After saving the child, the tribe took him in, grateful for his actions. Over time, he taught them skills he had learned from his people and certain aspects of Norse craftsmanship which the tribe incorporated into their own way of life. As Mary and the others watched him through the bars, River Ghost lifted the children onto his shoulders, telling them stories of the forest. And then the raiders came.
Most accepted their lot. The few don't. They don't want to be subjected to somebody else's power over them, and they fight back.
The English privateers, ruthless and accustomed to taking what they wanted, had come to seize the island. Expecting no resistance, they were met with a fury they hadn't anticipated. The Maliseet, prepared for this moment, fought back with everything they had. The battle was brutal, echoes of gunfire and shouts filling the cold night air. Iron Wolf sat in her tent, weaving beads and leather. The rhythmic sound of her work was suddenly interrupted by the distant crack of gunfire. She grabbed her bow and burst from her tent.
This is an insult to her tribe, it's an insult to her god, and it's an insult to her and her status. There is really only one way out of this, and that way is to meet violence with violence.
A raider charged toward her, but in a blur of motion, River Ghost's blade found its mark, dropping the attacker in a single strike. The Maliseet moved with the shadows, fluid and quick, as if they were part of the night itself. Raiders surged through the camp, but Iron Wolf cut them down with cold precision. Her wolf, fierce and loyal, moved alongside her, guarding her flank as the battle raged around them. From the edge of the camp, frantic voices echoed through the chaos, the prisoners begging to be freed. Their cries were drowned by the clash of steel, the roar of flames, and the cries of the dying. The prisoners, still locked in their cages, struggled to free themselves. With purpose, Fights in Snow emerged from the shadows, and with a single swing of his axe, he shattered the wooden bars, releasing Mary, her sister, and the rest. More and more raiders began to breach the camp as Mary urgently gathered the children, urging them to find cover. The group of elderly women and children were making their way to an escape tunnel. Last Moon stepped forward to engage the first mate. The first mate quickly overpowered him, forcing him back. As they struggled, the captain of the raiders seized the moment. He struck from the shadows, stabbing Last Moon in the back. The shaman fell to his knees, blood seeping into the snow as he crumpled forward. Iron Wolf's heart filled with rage. She and River Ghost moved as one, silent and deadly, flowing through the enemy like a river of death. The enemy captain, now at the center of the battle, tried to rally his forces, but Iron Wolf was already upon him. With a swift motion, she drove an arrow through his throat with her bare hands, his body collapsing to the ground. The battle ended with the Maliseet victorious. The prisoners, now free, had fought beside the tribe, their bonds solidified in the heat of combat. Iron Wolf, a leader more than ever, guided her people toward a future shaped by the fires of battle.
You don't know you're a great leader until really bad stuff happens to you. And then you either rise to the occasion or you die.
It was Nia, a former slave, who brought about the greatest immediate change. Drawing on ancestral knowledge and natural oils she learned of as a child, she introduced new methods to treat pelts and furs. Carefully applying these oils, stretching and drying them over several days, she taught the Maliseet to create hides softer and more durable than any others. Their high-quality furs soon became prized, fetching high prices in distant markets. Nia, Eli, and River Ghost took on the role of traders, venturing from the island and forming alliances with merchants, with River Ghost ensuring they were protected and dealt with fairly. Their finely crafted pelts and furs soon became renowned in port towns up and down the coast, even adorning the American elite, including a man you may have heard of, Benjamin Franklin, who was often seen wearing his favorite beaver skin hat. The tribe's wealth grew as they struck deals for these furs. Cherished in places as far as London, and Paris. With time, the Maliseet discovered valuable mineral deposits within their territory. However, they chose only to gather what they needed, maintaining a delicate balance with the land. The tribe prospered, gaining renown as both traders and stewards of the earth. Their example spread, showing how societies could build wealth without exploiting the land. Iron Wolf's leadership became the cornerstone of the tribe's survival and prosperity. Under her guidance, the Maliseet forged a delicate balance between themselves and the natural world, living in harmony with the land for generations. The wisdom she imparted, blending sustainability with strength, became the bedrock of the tribe's legacy.
She led the way she'd been taught, and she led with her heart.
Their land remains fiercely guarded, ensuring the survival of their traditions and values. The tribe's history is celebrated each year by thousands who visit to honor the Maliseet's unwavering spirit of freedom. Their bravery and resilience are commemorated in ceremonies, and the tribe's identity endures as a symbol of unity and strength, a testament to Iron Wolf's vision.
All right, man. Shout out to Gang. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here, man. So we actually have to make this camp area now. This is the camp area that the survivors were brought into. So you can see me right now. I'm kind of doing my torch work. These torches are giant, by the way. They're like 4 times the size of a person. It's ridiculous, but I can't make the fire smaller, so I had to just kind of leave that size the way it was. You'll see me constantly sprinkling around the vegetation anywhere I can, like that looks just a little too rough, right along the edges of these paths, right along where I used any of the gravel texture on the surface painter. I'm just kind of hitting the edges that look a little rough, a little unfinished, that just kind of need some polish on them. That's pretty much all we're doing. Let's get past that. I also found these bushes that have like white flowering on them. I go crazy on these in this area, and I'm also going to start using these in the city. I tell you, every once in a while, I'll hit up the workshop and to find trees and bushes and stuff like that that kind of work well with the winter build. It gets difficult, but every once in a while, I will see something that works. Most of the stuff just turns toilet paper white when you put it on here. I'm going to use these palisades. I found these palisade assets. I think they're for like a castle or a fort or something like that, but I thought that would be a cool way to kind of line certain areas. And you see me stacking up the ancient baskets and little wagons and all types of stuff. I'm also using these shantytown dock props to make like some little scaffolding and stuff like that. I wanted the whole area to basically feel like, Peter Pan Lost Boys, man. There's some people up here. They're in this cut. You can't get in. We can see you. You can't see us. If you come back here, it's definite smoke. Speaking of smoke, you can see we got the big campfire in the middle. We're going to put a few of these log benches. They're just nature pack benches. Right here, I started to look at the assets and things and like, how can I make certain stuff that, isn't something I would be able to download at all. So right here, I'm using some logs to make like a little shipbuilding, boat building type area. Shout out to Floki and them. If you know, you know. I know it's not near the water. It's not by a river or anything like that, but the Maliseet ain't dumb enough to be building somewhere else, bro. You got to build where you're safe. You don't want your people to get snatched up. They'll snatch up your people, tell him his name John, and they'll have him worshiping Jesus. We can't risk none of that. So we build the boats in the camp where we safe, where we got eyes on us, and when we done, you take that and you walk it down to the water and you use it. That's pretty much how it goes. We'll put like this was the shack or shed that he used to work in. Speaking of sheds, I got some of these Scandinavian style super slanty roof joints, and we'll go ahead and put another little park, little information type sign. We'll sprinkle these all around. There's like a pack with like 10 different kinds in them, different sizes and different degrees of degradation and rot. These aren't replicas. These are the real historical buildings from back in the day, man. So I also wanted to build like a little cave area out of these rocks. We'll come back to that, but I wanted to make sure that was at least back there. And you can go over you see the path, you can look down in there. That's why we got the observation paths. We're going to use some of these shantytown platforms to kind of make a raised area over the top of the whole camp. And I think the last type of housing that I'm going to use is these little wigwams. Now, these are probably for the younger warriors and people that can just be Johnny on the spot. You don't want to be 65, 70 years old living in one of these little tiny houses, man. But we'll let the warriors and the young folks kind of stay in those. And once you kind of get up in age and you got some stripes, you got some respect around here, you might can get up in one of those loggy wooden type houses. Right here, I'm making the cage that they kept marrying them in. They never rebuilt it after that boy fights in Snow smacked it with the big axe, and they probably never had to. I think probably after this, Iron Wolf was on some anybody else that land, just kill him, throw him back in the sea. She really wasn't what they call a diplomat, but that's probably what kept her tribe alive. That's why her people are still here today. And they never got put on no reservation. They never got ran off their land. None of that. They never assimilated nothing. If anything, y'all came here and assimilated. So, of course, throughout history, industry came in and stuff like that, but nothing happened without the approval of the tribe, the say so of the tribe. There is no, you just gonna set up shop over here. They have to approve it and they're gonna get paid off of it. Right now, I'm working with some of the park assets, like that, things that are supposed to attract people, but somewhere around this part of the episode, I realized this isn't even zoned as a park. It's zoned as a pedestrian area. So I undid that. Maybe next episode, we'll actually see some people kind of walking around back there. Next time I fire up the City Skylines one, maybe I'll see a person or two taking in the little hiking trail. Right now, I'm laying out some of these. They're like lookout towers from some, again, old school fort type pack, probably some Wild West or something like that, but we're using them in a different way. Now we're gonna jump back to our little cave. I wanted to add like a little multi-layered waterfall, and don't worry, we'll go back and we'll add like a source for that water to be actually falling from. It's just kind of collecting up in this cave. This is some kind of spring activity, but we're gonna make this into like a little shrine. Now I got a skeleton off the workshop, big flat rock and a skeleton. Definitely got to make a shrine. And some people are probably thinking, wow, man, that's dope. Those are the bones of Iron Wolf. This is like a little burial spot. Not really. The Maliseet didn't believe in entombing people like this. I think there are some native tribes that did, but not them. But you know whose people did believe in this type of entombment stuff? The most gangster, River Ghost himself. So this is the shrine to River Ghost. I mean, imagine the amount of work that man put in to be buried in this holy type place by some people that wasn't even really his original people. So we're gonna throw some torches up in here just to kind of lighten everything up. On the outside, I found like all types of totems on the workshop, so we'll sprinkle some of those around, and we're gonna put it gonna bend it a little bit, so it's then time to hit that thing. And we'll put some of these information signs on the outside. Up here on the top, this is where the water is kind of coming from. It's not going to be like a direct stream or none of that, but you can see me kind of working with more of the waterfall and some of the water surfaces to kind of cage that in. And that pretty much does it for this weirdo random episode. This was not like our normal episode. The cinematics ain't even going to be that normal, man. It's not that much, but I do want to show some of what we did, so I appreciate y'all hanging out for this one. Y'all make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe. As always, I told y'all I wasn't gonna stop coming out with City Skylines 1 episodes. The game is too fun. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I didn't want to turn it on because I knew, oh man, I'm gonna lose so much of my time if I go back into that game. But I had to, man. I got the bug one day and I felt like doing something that had some purpose. So I feel like we achieved that, and I definitely wasn't finna tack this build onto another episode. This needed its own solo track. So I appreciate y'all. I'm Kool-Aid. This is Cole Harbour. See y'all next time.
Now hit the like, comment, and subscribe. Oh, yeah.